coming to you from the park with my cat. It is April 10th, 2026. Human beings need affection. Machines don't. There's a difference. But it seems like we're changing what we are. And so, the reality that I'm living in right now in Dallas, being that I grew up on 40 acres in rural Oregon, not even Portland, but rural Oregon, it feels like I'm living in a machine that is consuming the flesh of the people within it. So since I've been living here, my perspectives have really opened up with regards to what is taking place, and I feel a lot more articulate having lived here and having been exposed to this reality. But I'm looking for the back door because ultimately I'm not in a position to be able to help people in this environment, nor am I in an environment where I can be loved for who I am. So today we're going to take a break from the news and we're going to talk about the importance of community. We're going to talk about the importance of therapy. We're going to talk about the importance of communication. And so when communication breaks down and you're no longer able to, in your own home, whether it be, in dealings with your mother or your father, you're no longer able to be like anti-war. We're upset that war is taking place. And it's especially complicated when you're dealing with, military families, which this is. This is a military family. And I knew that this type of thing would happen, that it would be about blood in the end. So I'm in basically a bad situation that I don't really have the freedom to articulate in full. But it's a situation that's draining me, and it's one in which, I'll just be like, left to my own devices when I'm an old man, when it's a worst case situation in America. Like everything is getting worse with her as everything gets worse with the world. And these things do happen, and so I'm going to be uploading more content to show you those other sides of myself that is conscious. That's not just freaking out, but it's normal, right? When you're in a nation that's returning to a Fourth Reich, to have a little bit of anxiety, but to really feel like your heart is broken when you lose your best friend. Because right now I'm talking into a cell phone, and she was the anchor for me. For many, many years, since 2013, without a family member, without my mom or my dad, she was responsible for positive things at one point that happened. And what happened is, we drifted apart more and more, and she became like full-time. She was always into the gamer thing. And we're talking about live gaming, in which she's using psychic abilities to pick up on what the other spirits or what the other people are doing. And so she has her own private form of spirituality that I'm not a part of, just like my mom does. I'm on the outskirts of a private world. And so my spirituality of, trying to do outreach and be a philosopher and talking about these things, she doesn't like those aspects of myself. And so I'm already in a situation in which I don't have anything. I'm in my 40s. I don't have the reach that I used to. I don't know what's going to happen to me. It feels like I'm losing oxygen. And so I'm heartbroken right now. And so we need to talk about, what do we do for ourselves in those situations? My hope is that through my own YouTube channel, if I put effort into helping you survive this world, that's a big topic. We talk about surviving this world. What are we really talking about? Well, there's physical preparedness, which we need to start talking about. Then there's understanding human psychology when you're in a situation with someone that has taken on an archetype of a bully that's provoking you. And it could be a man or a woman. It could be anybody who's a human being who's susceptible to mind control that can be hijacked by something, right, by the handlers in their head, and they can try to manipulate themselves to be the handler of another human being. We also need to be balanced and keep in check the was-was, or the mind control, or those aspects of ourselves that want us to be in pain, right? And so we might be in a situation to where, someone is provoking without realizing it by being cruel when they should be empathetic. Instead of us reacting, and crying and giving them what they want, that sounds sick to even, suggest that some people might want that. But I think that's the more disturbing reality that we're dealing with super complicated relationships that people are stuck in due to poverty and no current aid to get out of those situations, especially not for a man, and especially not for certain men, and especially not for certain men in certain regions. That boat is past, and we're looking at collapse. A lot of people could be losing their aid, their government aid, if they have any. And that includes SNAP in the future. Meaning in the future, and I've already talked about this, I foresee a lot of slave masters out there working to manipulate people that are on their land to be their slaves, including their sex slaves, including, breeding for a future army. And there's going to be people with their land that are going to be doing some crazy stuff, including hurting other people. What I want to do is give you as much information as possible to continue to receive God's blessings, because I've lived with people before and transcended the experience, and I will do it again. I'm going to have to conjure up some serious faith in the Creator and go neutral to the sadness that I'm feeling from her. And in order to do that, I must connect with nature. And part of connecting with nature is not just like owning it to myself, but sharing it with those that I love. So if she doesn't want to go to the park with me and walk in nature, then I'm going to talk about my feelings about not having a female to walk with in nature other than my cat, who's right here. Hello, Sukanara. So Sukanara is here. Sukanara is with me. And you want to go back the other way? What I don't like is when you run up the tree and you abandon me. That's what I don't like. Come on, Sukanara. I'm going back this way. I don't want you running up these trees. Come on. Come on, Sukanara. Come on, Sukanara. So that's companionship. But it can't really be done with other people around. So I want to have a bond with others, and I want to know that I'm helping you. I want to know that I'm helping you. I want to know that we're working together in this. So I think that it probably would be in my favor to start throwing out some suggestions for meditation, for us to create some stability at minimum in our immediate lives. Now, the world is a different situation. And what's happening in the detention centers and what's going to be happening in the future, that's a different situation. But we can work on that. But right now, we need to focus on, say, a symbol that is grounding, that brings us peace in our environment. All right? And I'm going to continue with this YouTube channel and a new Substack to provide the necessary life coaching advice. I'm going to go deeper into this. I'm not going to let this situation break me, right? But there's a part of me that's broken. There's a part of me that feels like, like I just lost a parent or something, like something really, really significant, like I've lost someone. And that's ultimately what's taking place with people right now. We're dealing with people that are seeing the people around them change into something that they don't recognize. So this is the value of getting close to the earth. This is the value of healing under the sun. And I'm thinking about Colorado a lot. Right now, the gas is $3.69. We'll see where that goes in the next couple of weeks. But the main thing is to get out of a vibrational frequency about people away from the people that are being angry and enraged and are about to go to war. Plus, we're in an environment where they're talking about, a draft coming back, and by December. So we know that we've got some time, but I would say that I hit the nail on the head that they really do engineer, in a way, population booms. Through the promotion of promiscuous sexuality, through the breakdown of family values, they then have an agenda for that child. And so because certain values were not instilled in this generation that relate to peace, they are emulating the movies. They are emulating the video games. They are emulating what is being put out there in pop culture. There's like a young teenager who's driving the other day down the road in a big truck with massive tires, doing about 100 miles an hour. It's like I yell at him going like, slow down. I'm actually taking my cat on a tour here. Now we're going to go walk up on some flowers. It's spring, and these are the types of flowers that would be perfect, you know, to sit in meditation with a group of people, for example. So I would love to be able to come to Colorado, and I sent out a few emails. And so far, no one's replying to the emails. And then I thought that I would also relieve 50 people from the newsletter out of intuition. You know, that they basically probably had heard enough, and some individuals might actually be afraid to be receiving my perspectives in their inbox. I picked up on that. Sometimes it might not be judgment. Sometimes, you know, it might. And then I noticed a lot of people that, you know, purport to be spiritual, you know, and NPR, once I got into reporting on how there are people calling for mass deportation of Muslims, roundup of Muslims, the concept of me predicting this, the concept of me knowing that this was coming, you know, that right there is a massive assertion that a lot of people are going to look at and go, yeah, I want no part of this. You predicted this? You knew this was coming? Fantastic. That's the last email I'm ever going to open from you. Bye. No, I don't care, man. Who cares? Yeah, you and your people are going to die. Well, I'm over here meditating. That's your reality. This is my reality. So that's where we are. There's a channel called The Alchemist. She has a perspective on how, you know, World War III is just about gobbling louche. I'd say, you know, that's a half-truth. Are they saying on those videos they're actually wiping out a race of people as a part of an alien agenda? And we need to have a real new age without a new world order or a white world order. We need to have a new age where it is okay that you came from a white woman, but you didn't come out looking just like her and Bruce and Phil. That's the new age that we don't have, and that's the new age that we need. Because I will continue to talk about a hidden form of misogyny that the Western world won't talk about. When it doesn't like what came out of the white woman who had her sexual freedom from the 1970s and 1980s. So it's all a matter of having your sexual freedom and having your cake too, right? For the woman to be able to do whatever she wants and to take the baby. But what about when the baby comes out and the world looks at that baby, including the friends of that mother, including the relatives of the father, and you're like, nah, we're good. We don't really need him at the potluck. There's just something about him that isn't correct. There's something about that one that's wrong, who needs to be corrected, who didn't come out right. Yeah, because he came out genetically different, and that is not normal. But they don't see it that way. They're still determined to not see the obvious. And the real reason why this country doesn't want people like my father in it in the future, to have children like me. They're not yet connecting the dots, that I contributed something to your world. I warned you about what's coming with China and TikTok, 2100, right? I'm warning you about 2165 being something coming after that, okay? I believe that 2012 was significant as far as an energy shift towards new challenges, right, as evil came into our planet and has been screwing with people through this technology. In a way, through that, we are seeing the end of humanity, the end of our world as we know it. I've talked to you about fantastic places that you might want to check out in Colorado, so that's a message to those of you in Sedona. If Leon Lagon is right about this invasion, there's going to be a migration from the West Coast to Middle America. And I know where to go, where you can be left alone for the most part, in certain pockets, right? But it takes a group effort. It takes people willing to be kind to one another, to work with one another, to not force arguments, right? People that are actual masters at conflict resolution. And when you meet a lot of people that are off-grid, that live off-grid full-time, they often are people with social issues that don't actually know how to deal with people that are different or have other abilities. As Americans, we have been brainwashed to be narcissists that are out of control with weapons of mass destruction. And it's time for a shift. It's time for a shift of ages. It's time for the ultimate real new age, if there ever was a new age. Okay? And I want to herald that forth. This is Solar Seer, looking at the sunrise from a bed of flowers with my black cat. Now let's get some video.